Good morning, everybody, and welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 17th of February. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning for the first time in a wee while by Chris Jack. I know you were back on duty yesterday, Chris, but you enjoyed a week off. How was it?
The dream team is back together, Derek. It's a fortnight since you've been off, I've been off, and now Josh is off this week. So we're getting our holiday days in when the season is slightly quieter. I was relieved that a managerial development didn't interrupt my time off last week, because that would have been rather unfortunate. But so if it happens while Josh is off this week, I assume he will have the same sense of professionalism that I would have had, and he'll be jumping straight on the phone. But no, nothing to suggest that's in the offing. So we'll see what the week brings. Certainly plenty for you boys to get into last week, and I'm sure this week will certainly not be quiet either.
Joshua off this week. Well deserved a week off for Master Barry. It'll be myself, Chris, Steve will come on, Johnny will come on at some point during the week as well. So we'll have you covered, folks. Sniper getting in touch before I forget. He says, likes, subscribe, and don't get wide. Yes, absolutely, buddy. Thank you for that. Loads of you watch the morning briefing on a morning and haven't subscribed yet. So get your act together, get subscribed, and hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video when we go live. Right, we're going to talk about yesterday's events at Tynecastle. Rangers returning to winning ways with a 3-1 win. A very unusual game, if you like. I mean, Rangers had 2 disallowed goals, but they were below par, I would say, the first half in particular. But they ran out 3-1 victors in the end, and 2 own goals, helped by the son of former Motherwell legend Chris McCart, knocking into his own net on 2 occasions, which was very much appreciated. And Rangers, Hearts equalised in the second half with a header, another set-piece goal that Rangers conceded. Václav Černý restored Rangers 1-goal advantage before a ball lofted over the top, and McCart knocked it in past Gordon for goal number 3. And Rangers below par performance-wise, Chris, but I'll tell you what, I'll take the rest. I'll take victories like that. I don't give a monkeys about performance levels. It's all about results at the end of the day. Philippe Clement needs results, and I know that his post-match press conference has created a bit of on social media because he said the performance was, I think he said it was good, or words to that effect. I would disagree with him to some extent on that, but don't really care a jot, to be honest, because Rangers need to be winning games, and they won yesterday, and that is, I believe that's the 5th league win in a row, is it, by a 2-goal margin or more, which is not to be sniffed at.
Just while we're on the subject of Josh, before he finally logs off and goes on his holidays, he messages this morning to say that the XG on Sunday. This when you know that I'm reading a text message rather than coming up with stuff myself. So people will know it's not my forte. But he says that the XG yesterday against of 2.17 was the 3rd highest total that Rangers have conceded since coming back to the top flight. And even for those of us who don't put a lot of or know too much about that, yes. It was that I think highlights that it was not a great performance from Rangers, and it was a game that they could easily have lost. I think the point of it's a win, that's the most important thing. That's certainly accurate. No, Rangers needed to win yesterday. Clement needed a win yesterday. If Rangers had dropped, if they dropped more points, you know exactly what we'd have been talking about this morning. You know what the mood of the fans would have been. They had to find a way just to get through it, and they did. Fair play to them for it. But I think, as we've touched on at various points over the course of the season, that only gets you so far. Now, this being, yes, it's a trait, and it's a good trait to be able to win games when you're not playing well. But eventually, if you don't play well often enough, you don't win enough games, and these things can catch up with you. And I think that's been the case earlier on in this season. I think that could well be the case once again. Performance levels have to be at a certain set standard for you to consistently win games. If you consistently win games, you've got a chance of winning and challenging for silverware. Rangers have not been consistent enough over the course of the season. The level has not been there enough over the course of the season. And a number of these games, they've been toss of the coins. They've been 50-50s. They've got through them. They've managed to sneak a few over the course and distance. And yes, you take those points and you move on. But ultimately, if the performances are not there at a high enough standard often enough, then you end up in the situation that Rangers are. So I think in isolation yesterday, you can take it as what it was. It was a good win at a difficult venue against a side that are in form. You take it, you move on. Heading into this weekend against St Mirren, and then also Kelly coming up in the midweek, Rangers have to be better. They have to raise performance levels. But ultimately, they've put themselves in the position where, even if they do, it doesn't make any difference. No, we know what these next couple of weeks and months are going to look like for Rangers, and they're not much fun, unfortunately.
Yeah, not much fun. And lots of comments coming in here. I wanted to get to a few of them because it sort of caught my eye. There's one here from Make Rangers Great Again. Says that we've become a jumped up Hearts, and a lot of people are accepting this, Derek, included with the sounds of things. No, listen, at this point in time, I don't think beggars can be choosers. Philip Clement needs wins. Rangers need to start winning games. They're not going to be scintillating every single match. And as I touched on there, they've now won 5 league games in a row. Now, you can't discount last week, which was an utter embarrassment. But yeah, listen, it was... I don't think a win yesterday was going to change the mood. We talked about it last week. If Rangers had get beat, I think it would just get intensified even further. I think even if Rangers had won even more convincingly than they did yesterday, I don't think it would have done much in changing the mood from the fan base towards Philip Clement. It's not changed my mood towards him at this point in time. He needs wins. He knows that. It's just about seeing all these league games out. Basically, they're if you like, glorified dead rubbers. Really, Rangers are not going to get back into the league title race at this moment in time. So it's seeing them out. If he can win all the matches, then good stuff. But if Rangers had played well and get beat yesterday, Chris, for me, that would have been worse. I know there's comments coming in saying by Blair, he says, I care about performances. Results are okay, but they're taking over a dire situation. It's a dire situation, but if Rangers had played magnificently yesterday and get beat, then I don't think we'd be going and saying, oh, don't worry about it, but we're back playing well again.
I think people were looking for both yesterday. There was a lot of talk, certainly after the press conference or at the press conference on Friday, and then afterwards, and then pre-match yesterday, about you'll see this reaction and the players are hurting and they know how bad last week was, and they want to come out and they want to try and start to put it right. A win over Hearts, regardless of how convincing or otherwise it had been yesterday, it was never going to put it right. It was never going to undo all the bad from the Queen's Park game. That will live with this manager and with this squad of players for quite some time. I think people were looking for more at Tynecastle, though. They were looking for a bit more of a reaction. You look at the chances that Hearts had. Josh and I spoke about this on the video last night. Kabanga could easily have been walking off the park at half-time with the match ball tucked under his arm and a hat-trick already done, and the game could have been beyond Rangers at that point. The overall show and the overall performance, what Rangers were able to put into that first half was nowhere near good enough. But they got themselves in a position that they ultimately were able to go on and win the game. The manager was right to take the positive from that. His comment after the game saying, "No, you cannot say it wasn't a good performance." I know that can upset a few people and certainly spark debate. I don't think that was the right. If that's his position on it, I don't think he's right. I think you could quite easily say it wasn't a good performance, because I don't think it was. But he was right to take the positives in terms of the result, because it does it takes the noise out of this week. There's not going to be the same clamour. There's not going to be the same debate about why is the club not saying anything? Why is he not being sacked? Why is he still here? That, I think, can die down. If he's not going to be sacked after Queen's Park, he's certainly not going to be sacked after you go and win at Tynecastle. So we can get through this week without that. But it's a bigger conversation. That big conversation has still not gone away. It probably won't go away for quite some time. It may never go away until Clement is actually sacked. But at least we can get through this week without all of that kind of background noise and that kind of anger and that frustration from the fans bubbling over. I think they're right to be pleased that Rangers won the game yesterday, but for me it doesn't answer a lot of the bigger questions surrounding the manager and this squad.
Yeah, the fans don't like it when the manager of the football club comes out and says something completely alien to what they've just watched with their own eyes, I guess. Guys know I covered Bolton at the weekend. Stephen Schumacher came out that Bolton defeated Shrewsbury 3-2, but they were poor for the first majority of the first half. But he came out and said he's not going to sugarcoat it. First half an hour, they were rubbish. And the fans appreciated that because he's not trying to pull the wool over their eyes and say something that it wasn't. So, that's something that you don't really get from Clement, though, do you? Some of his statements and press conferences are a tad puzzling, to say the least. But you can win the game and not perform to the levels that you would expect. That is a fair comment, I think. But as I touched on there, I think it's all about results for me. Rangers need to get a series of wins together and stop stumbling at grounds such as Tynecastle, as they did at the start of the season. Lots of comments coming in. There's a few I wanted to touch on here. Well, first of all, OS19 says, I know I'm about 3 to 4 years late, but I've just finished Chrissy's book and thoroughly enjoyed it. Great read. There you go. So good stuff. Glad to hear it. Chris, people can still buy your 55 book, can't they?
They can indeed. I finished the book looking ahead to 56, and when I was signing copies for people, obviously friends got some and there's some press guys got some, and I gave a lot out. We ran some competitions on the review as well. I did sign them saying all the best, here's to 56. I didn't think 56 would be that far away. Unfortunately, I had hoped that would have arrived by now,
yes.
and that the 56 book would already be on the shelves, but it's not. Unfortunately, there was brief plans for one last season when it looked like Rangers could pull off the unlikely and go on and win the title last season, but that was a short-lived master plan, unfortunately. But yes, you can still buy the 55 book, and actually a lot of it references a big event that's coming up next month. We're obviously 10 years on from regime change. That's the 6th of March, and a lot of the book obviously looks back at. That's really the starting point for it, looking back at how Dave King and John Gilligan and Paul Murray were able to win control back of the boardroom, and what that then did for Rangers, building into Gerrard and also the European success, and then also going on to 55. So I say 56 has not followed it as quickly as I imagined, but a lot of it is still relevant. So I'm glad the viewer there has enjoyed it, and his recommendation is thoroughly appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And just before we crack on, Alchemist says, I don't know why, but Derek is reminding me of Cameron Diaz today. I know what you're saying there, buddy. Just spotted it there at the corner of my eye as well. So a bit of bed hair, shall we say, and not what Cameron Diaz ended up with in that famous movie. But anyway, we'll race quickly on to other talking points from the game. Kev, we always like a bit of sarcasm in the morning. So it's good to see youth like Lawrence and Proper given a chance. It's fair to say it wasn't a unanimously cheered decision to see him in the starting lineup yesterday, Chris, when the teams were announced. Now, by all accounts, I don't think Nadeem Bayrami has been playing well enough to deserve a starting spot. But you've got young boys there that are looking to get more game time. And Roddy, with the point, says, why bring Curtis on in the 89th minute? No point. What did you make of that? What did you make of Lawrence starting? And would you like to have seen a couple of young boys getting, well, Curtis in particular, who came on, getting more of an opportunity yesterday?
I think you could easily have started Curtis wide left. You could have moved Hadji into that number 10 role, and very few people would have grumbled about it. And even if Finlay Curtis then doesn't have a great game, people are willing to give him that. They're willing to understand the situation that he's been put into. It's not quite sink or swim for these boys right now, because the Rangers fans, they will be understanding, and they would rather see someone like Finlay Curtis come in and get his chance and show something a bit different. Give them something that's potentially going to be exciting for the future. Tom Lawrence is not the future for Rangers. No, his contract's up in the summer. He won't be offered a new one. He will be allowed to move on. You're learning nothing. You're gaining very little from giving Tom Lawrence minutes when there's other guys in the squad who could potentially benefit from that. I asked Clement yesterday about other guys potentially coming back into the squad ahead of next week, and he said that Danilo will be in contact training this week, so that's also a positive. He said that Connor Barron is close towards training, and Dujon Sterling is also close, but we'll need to see where they are in terms of level for the St Mirren game. But he started that answer by talking about Tom Lawrence and said, "You see, Tom took his minutes for the first time today after being out a long time. I think it was September or October when he fell out. He was important also what he did today, and his smartness and being available between the lines." Again, he must have been watching a different Tom Lawrence performance from me. I thought Lawrence offered very, very little to Rangers yesterday. He's offered relatively little to Rangers over the course of the season. I don't really see what he's bringing to the party in his outline there. I think you could move Hadji into that role, have Curtis on that left hand side, and very few people would have been arguing with that selection. Obviously, if you have Cortez available, that offers you a different option again, but that's not the case. If you have Danilo back, I think that would be a real boost. The two strikers approach is one that I'd like to see Rangers get back to. It doesn't really work with Higaman and Dessers. It should work a lot better with Higaman and Danilo. So having Danilo back is certainly a bonus, but I don't think you're going to learn much by playing Tom Lawrence or giving him a number of minutes between now and the end of the season. Given the situation, it's a chance to look. Now, the manager keeps mentioning the project and forward thinking and in the bigger picture. Tom Lawrence is not part of the bigger picture at Rangers right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Dougster says, Derek, would you drop Butland? I think he's sort of clamouring towards what I said maybe a few weeks ago when Butland's form was questionable. It wasn't questionable yesterday. He was man of the match, and probably deservedly so. Came up with a few big stops for Rangers, particularly first half. That was back to the Jack Butland that we know he can be. That was much better from him, Chris. No complaints about him. There's a save he made in the first half. Of course, he gave the ball away. I immediately apologised after it. It was a tremendous tip away from the Hearts striker. But deserved man of the match for you yesterday?
I said to Josh when we did the post-match show, I thought he was Rangers' best performer by quite some distance. I thought he was easily Rangers' man of the match, and if it hadn't been for Jack Butland, Rangers may not have won that game yesterday. You touched on a couple of the saves that he made there. There's an interview with Jack going out on the site at 12 o'clock. You can read that on the website and can watch it on the YouTube channel. And he's really honest about how he dealt with last week, how Rangers had to prepare for that game at Tynecastle, how they had to deal with everything over the course of the week. And he's interested on his own form as well, and some of the criticisms that he's perhaps received. He addresses some of them and kind of not bites back, but he addresses some of them. And so I think it's a really, really open and honest interview from Jack, as you always get. He always speaks really well. He's obviously one of the main figures within that dressing room, and every time he speaks, you don't get the impression that he's trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. So we'd urge people to go and read that on the site and to watch that on the channel. Overall, I thought he was a really good performer. Had a really big hand in Rangers winning that game, and more performances like that from him would certainly help Rangers over the course of the next couple of weeks and months, when there's not much at stake, but he addresses that situation as well, and what Rangers do have to play for in these coming weeks.
Yep. Another player that's earning some rave reviews. I thought he was good again yesterday, and that is Clinton Enciala. Miles with the point says, club has struck gold with Enciala. Without the injuries, Clermont would have left him in the B team. He's certainly someone that has come in. Of course, it was a sink or swim situation for him when he was drafted in at Dens Park. It raised a few eyebrows, but he's grasped his opportunity. He looks better and better every passing game, Chris. There was a big flashpoint in the game in the second half, of course, when I've seen a lot of Hearts fans sort of bumping their gums over whether John Beaton should have awarded a penalty for a push from Enciala on Wilson. Interestingly, Chris Boyd and even Chris Sutton felt there was not enough in it to award a penalty kick, and I think that was probably the right call from John Beaton yesterday. But Enciala as a whole, I've been really pleased with how he has been performing at this moment in time. Chris, he has been a real find so far.
On the penalty, I don't think there was enough in it. I understand why the Hearts fans are upset and why they would appeal for it, but I think when you see it back, there's not enough in that to award the penalty for me. So I think the referee got that one right, and obviously it's looked at and it's checked, and nothing was decided. So I don't think that's as big a drama as people perhaps were making out on social media last night. In terms of Enciala in general, I thought he was good. I thought he continues to impress. He continues to get better. He's still raw, obviously. He's still inexperienced, obviously. He's still going to make mistakes, but much like I touched on earlier on, like Sir Curtis, the fans are willing to see him make those mistakes because they think there might be something there. They're happy to. They're going to allow him to learn on the job. The manager was asked about him post-match and said that he made mistakes in the beginning, even when he was playing with the B team. But he said he was learning really fast, and he's actually further ahead in terms of his development than they thought he would be at this stage. I know when he was brought in the summer, there were a lot of people who thought, well, he's going to be the third choice centre half. He'll be fourth choice. He's come from AC Milan. He must be this. He must be that. You had to give him time to settle in. He's also played a number of games with the B team, and when his moment has then arrived, also that game up at Dens Park, he's got his chance. He's taken it, and since then he's got his chance and he's taken it as well. And fair play to him for doing that. If Rangers had not had those injury situations, or John Souttar out for a long time, we've seen the Leon Balogun situation. We know what happened with Casimir Mirzo. If that had not happened, if all of those guys had been available, Enciala probably wouldn't have got his chance, and he wouldn't have made the progression that he has done. So sometimes it's just about being right place, right time for young players. You know, things can unfold, things can happen, and when those things do unfold and happen, you have to then make the most of them. And I think he has done. I think he's done really well, and he's certainly in a season of not many positives, in a recent run of not many positives. I think he stands out as someone that the fans are rightly a bit more encouraged by, and we can definitely see that there's something there. I thought it was a big call from the manager to actually start him yesterday. You would assume that Souttar and Cropper both being available. That's the partnership. I think it's a big call and quite an enlightening call. The fact that Clermont decided Enciala was the right partner for John Souttar there.
Yep, totally agree. I've liked him ever since. He was a bit raw, you could say, at Dens Park, which is understandable. But since then, he's just grown, and he's almost made that left centre back position his own. I've been really impressed. Good to see him part of that European squad as well. Whether he features, who knows? We should find out. We will find out at the end of this week who Rangers will face in that next round of the Europa League. I got Stevie's asked Stevie last week, Chris, who he would fancy, who he'd want Rangers to face. He wants a Jose Mourinho clash. Would you go along with that? I mean, Fenerbahce, I think, will book their place in the next round. They're 3-0 up over Anderlecht to FC 20, 2-1 up over Bodo Glimt. I can certainly see the Norwegians turning that around. Who would you fancy?
Doesn't surprise me that Stevie wants the Mourinho one. I knew he would go for the glamour tie. I think that would probably be the most difficult of the ties for Rangers, but still a potentially winnable one. Anderlecht also look like they're out of it. So as you say, I think we can rule them out. The other tie is really close to call. Wouldn't be a major surprise either way what one when that falls. I think 20 probably looks the most winnable one, perhaps. Although I did see a certain Sam Lammers scored another goal yesterday. He took it very well, unsurprisingly. But I think either of those ones, I think they are definitely winnable ones for Rangers. Fenerbahce probably the toughest one. Tip wise, I think Fenerbahce probably stands out as the experienced one. I think it is me that's getting to go on this next one, thankfully. So that's probably the one that stands out from a tip perspective, just to go and kind of experience the atmosphere and the football culture over there. But time will tell what Friday or what Thursday night and Friday brings. Then we can take it from there, because these two games, they're the ones to look forward to. They're certainly some way ahead of St Mirren at Ibrox in terms of the looking forward to stage. So it's all about Europe for Rangers now. These two ties or these two matches. If you can get through the tie, who knows? Anything's possible when you get to that stage. But obviously the draw will decide what half of the fixture list Rangers are in. And I think once that's kind of mapped out, you will be able to see roughly where Rangers are heading in this competition, or how much of a future they have in this competition.
Yeah, I'd be wanting 20 or Bodo, I've got to admit. One of those two, please, would do on Friday. But we'll find out on Thursday night who Rangers could face. And something to look forward to, at least this season. We're all the season hinges on that, of course. That's interesting point that came in. We've touched on Enciala, and this is an interesting point from Jim. Again, Rangers conceding from a set piece, Chris. Spoke at length about this on various videos. Rangers don't have the aerial prowess to deal with balls into the box, whether it's corners, free kicks, throw-ins. They're just not strong enough. Says, I wonder if the new assistant manager has been helping with set pieces. Still work to be done there, but at least trying something different. It means on an offensive front. Rangers did try a few different things, of course, but defensively, again, it's not good enough, is it? Would you like to see, spoke to Johnny, I think, last week about this, but someone coming in that's aerially dominant in the air? I think Rangers are lacking that at the moment. Is that something that needs to be brought in the summertime?
I think it's definitely an area. I think we touched on the centre half position towards the end of the transfer window, and you look at the options that are there. You would imagine there will be movement in that area come the summer. You look at Leo Balogun is out of contract. For me, I don't think he gets another deal. No. You then look at Casemiro, wouldn't be looking to bring him back, given the injury. John Suter is first choice at present for me. Spoke about Enciala, more than deserves his place. We don't know about Rafa Fernandez yet. Just don't know how good he is, how good he can be. So these next few weeks give us a chance to find out. But you're looking at least one coming in. For me, it has to be someone who's just a bit more dominant, a bit more physical. You look at that Rangers side in general and as a whole. There's not a lot of height. There's not a lot of pace. There's not a lot of physicality within that side. So I think that's something they do have to address, and it would pay off in both boxes. It would pay off at both ends of the pitch. If you can have someone or one or two who are a bit more dominant in the air, stops you conceding goals like you did yesterday, and obviously helps at the other end as well. I thought the corner routine that actually got Rangers a goal wasn't quite straight off the training ground. The one they worked earlier on in the game was good, and it played out. Also, didn't get the reward. Much like the one the Raskin header a couple of weeks ago. I think it was Cherny and Tav on that far side at Ibrox. It didn't quite work out perfectly. I think it was Cherny's pass on that occasion wasn't quite not great back to Tav, but he dug out a brilliant cross, and Raskin then scored at the back post. Even when they don't quite come off in terms of the kind of the one touch or the quick pass, Rangers are still able to get something from these situations, and it's good because there's no point in just firing crosses in if you don't have people who can go and win them. You're just basically giving up the chance. So good to see them being a bit more creative in these situations.
Yep, for sure. In the game afterwards, mean, no one should go to a football match and not return. Peggy and a few others saying this. He says, special mention to the family of the Hearts supporter who passed away at the game. So sad. Condolences to his family, friends, Hearts FC and their supporters. Tragic stuff. Really. Hearts released a statement yesterday on their social media accounts. It says, it was with great sadness that the club can confirm that the Hearts supporter tragically passed away at Tynecastle Park today. A medical incident occurred during the closing stages of this afternoon's match, and despite the best efforts of the emergency medical services, the supporter could not be saved. The club would like to thank the medical services and safety stewards in attendance for their swift action. The thoughts of everyone at Hearts are with the supporters' family and friends at this extremely difficult time. Rangers also posted to everyone at Rangers is deeply saddened to hear this awful news, and we send our sincere condolences. Our thoughts are with the family and friends of the supporter at this difficult time. And I see James Tavernier posted something as well. I noticed that last night, which is fitting of the Rangers captain. Oh, there's I've just been unplugged. Let me just start again. Let me see. We should be back on here. Apologies, folks. Let me just sort the camera out. I've just nudged. There we go. Apologies for that. I just nudged the cable out of my laptop. So sorry for that. But real desperately sad news. So condolences to that Hearts supporter and their close family and friends as well. Right, we'll wrap up there. A big thank you to Chris for joining us on today's show. And a thank you to you all for tuning in as ever. It is much appreciated. This week, as we touched on, no Joshua this week, but there is plenty of Rangers content to come over the week. Rangers playing on Saturday. Is it St Mirren on Saturday, Chris? Just off the top of my head, it is. Yep. So back to a Saturday. When was the last time Rangers played at 3 p.m. on a Saturday? So looking forward to. Looking forward to. Are we looking forward to Rangers returning to action? Listen, big week as I touched on earlier on. It's a European draw at the tail end of the week. Those of you that are Rangers Review members, extra members on YouTube, you'll have a number of videos coming your way over the course of the week as well. But we'll bid you farewell there. Enjoy your Monday, and we'll speak to you later on. Bye for now.